Ohayou gozaimasu. Irashaimase. Welcome in and welcome to Ohayou Anime, the morning anime show that doesn't take place in the morning. Not here, but it is morning in Japan. So that's how we get away with it. Anyways, my name is John, and we're going to be, of course, talking anime. Later in the episode, Jujutsu Kaisen is the central focus. We cover 2 episodes at a time, and so episodes 8 and 9 of the current season will be discussed, and we will get spoilery about it. For that, we're gonna get into it's not a news story, but it's a explainer, I guess. Some terms that I never heard of as it pertains to the anime world that are really something. And I'll be curious how many of you are all familiar with this or not. So we're going to get into that. I have a manga review to go over, maybe something a little less typical than some of the shonen sorts of shows we cover on here a lot. And then we should have at least Phil coming in a little later to he's going to have his thoughts on Dorohedoro because he finished that. So all that, and then if anyone jumps in the chat, you're welcome to throw in topics into the hat here. Housekeeping stuff. We have this show every other week, and the alternating week we have our main show, Popcast on the Rocks. That's the channel name, and that's the name of our main show that covers kind of all pop culture topics, not just anime related. We've been covering some James Bond things on there, comparing the books to the movies for the anniversary years. We have we'll be covering Castlevania, the animated series. I'm sure we'll be talking about that soon on there as well. And yeah, so make sure you follow that for all kinds of general pop culture stuff. Our normal, I would just want to do a couple of other shout outs before we get into it. Killing the Flower does our main theme song for our main show, Killing the Flower. So check them out. MJ Honeybee, she streams Dead by Daylight on Twitch 3 times a week. Make sure you give her a follow. And Track Mouse 34, that's Mike. That's often on this show. Make sure you follow him. Follow us as well. Give us reviews, like, shares, all that sort of thing. And yeah, we appreciate all that sort of stuff. All right. So first up, I'm going to do my my manga review here, and it's Kowloon Generic Romance, Volume 3. So, before I start diving into it too deeply, Phil has already arrived to dive into things deeply with me. Welcome in, Phil.
Well, I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah, you're a little bit early, so
yeah, got on a little earlier than I thought. So gravy.
All right, and you're a leg man. I see.
I am a leg man. Yes. Yep.
Well, cool. Well, I've just basically set everything up for the audience here, but I am going to do a quick review of a manga I just finished tonight.
Yeah.
Called Kowloon Generic Romance. Cool. Now, Phil, have you ever heard of Kowloon?
I have not.
So Kowloon was a walled city in Hong Kong.
Okay.
And there was
in actual history.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
There was a territorial dispute between, China thinking they own it and England thinking they own it when England occupied Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. And somehow this place kind of got left by itself eventually, and this walled city became the most densely populated place on Earth. And it's this place where only one street Did you really have, like one section? Did you have a view of the sky? It became this monolith thing, what started as individual buildings. And then over time, everybody built and built and built and connected them. And it's this really fascinating thing and place. Yeah. And so this manga takes place in that setting. And they do a good job of kind of bringing you there and setting that sort of tone and feeling. And they
is
so
this a place
really,
you knew about prior to reading this manga, or did you research it as you read this?
Yep, found out about it as I read it. Cool. And it's they kind of talk a little bit about it, and a lot more common now. I don't know that it was so much back in the day, but a lot of times in the back of manga now there are translation notes. So it's a whole page full of like talking about customs and why this would mean this and when this is a joke, and
like cultural
all that sort of
translation notes.
Yeah, right.
Not literal translation notes. Yeah. Oh, cool. Yep. Okay.
So you learn a lot of things that way, but I'm on volume 3 of this, and it's setting a romance story in this place, but it's got a lot of mystery to it. So it's the manga tackles what it calls or just brings up the topic of nostalgia a lot, and that feeling and then what it is. And so I think it's appropriate that the art style also feels nostalgic. So some of the technology is a little older, and the art style feels more
like a 90s anime
80s vibe, or early 90s. Yep.
Yeah.
And
big eyes.
Yeah, and it's a little more of a kind of shoujo style, so a little more geared towards women sort of art style as well. But
it actually is kind of like a romance.
Yes. Okay. Yep. I mean, but it's I would say the thing about this manga so far is it's a slow burn. It likes to set you in a space, creates a good environment, and then it creates a lot of mystery and raises a lot of questions. So there is some sort of fanciful or sci-fi element added to this. So it seems like in this world, either we're dealing with like what they would consider an alternate reality, alternate timeline version of events, because Kowloon Wall City no longer exists. They demolished it.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
In real life?
Yeah. In real life, yep. And in here, there is some futurist elements here. So it's either like, well, what if it had never been demolished, or something? I don't know yet. There's so many questions about the world and our main character and stuff. So I'm enjoying it. It's a good read. It's something different. It's a very different pace. Yeah. I love the setting, but I am waiting for some answers. And even towards the end of this volume, our protagonist was given the opportunity to like get some answers, and she declined them. And so that, from an audience perspective, was frustrating as well. It's like, no, damn it! Like, I understand why you're saying no, but I want to know.
Sure. Yeah. Well, kind of a twist, a way of doing a twist. But,
so I have the follow-up volume. This is again volume 3. I'm still going to keep going. It's a really nice change of pace for a manga, and recommended if you're looking for something a little different.
Cool. Can I ask you a quick question, clarifying question?
Yeah.
Would you say, based on the way that they frame this up and based on what you've learned, was the fact that this city was kind of like forgotten, it sort of fought over, or sort of what was it that it was fought over, or that neither China or England really claimed it, this like area of Hong Kong, and so kind of got
my understanding is they both sort of wanted they both would rather have the title of "we own this," but didn't end up wanting to deal with it.
Okay.
So I don't know who really did lay claim to it, like ultimately, but there was like no police presence, there was no government, there was just, it was literally and it cocooned its own thing. And then people on the outsides, there would be markets and stuff, so you could come and go. And so,
Right.
you know, there'd be lots of trade with the outside world
Sure.
or whatever. But
it-
I don't.
Was it portrayed like a slum or more like a place where people like a nice place where people lived, or
It
kind of like a
really,
place, like a desirable place to live?
So, to my understanding, is that, you know, a lot of shots, when you look at it from certain areas, you're just going to look. Firstly, you have to set it in the time that was in or whatever, and the space, and not like compare it directly to like our standard of living now.
Sure.
But I would say that, you know, it looked chaotic, messy,
Sure.
disjointed, you know, all this sort of thing. But then it sounds like a lot of residents that lived there really loved living there. So
Okay. Interesting.
I don't know. There's a dream by certain people today that you can have a mega city or a mega structure that you never leave. You never have to leave,
Sure.
and it's all intricately planned, and everything you need is within the certain walking distance. It's all self-contained.
Sure.
This is kind of like that. The difference is this one had the chaotic nature of no one running anything, versus the idea of a mega city now would be everything is very specifically planned and controlled. So I don't know. I just think it's really a fascinating thing, really different. And I was shocked. It immediately draws me in. There's a manga I did read called Blam, and it's about, in the future, sort of AI taking over, and this city that's run by it goes rampant and just endlessly builds upon itself. And so people for generations they don't understand what the sky is, or earth and the ground. Like, they are just surrounded by city.
Sure.
And like,
Top,
and
bottom,
mostly
sides.
empty. Yeah, everything, for like vast expanses. And there's something that does to me inside me for the feeling when I'm like that sort of perspective of humans being so tiny, and then the vastness of a monolithic structure or something, and interconnected pathways and all that. And this has a little bit of this, and I'm shocked to find out it was real. So yeah, it's just a weird,
Interesting. Okay.
connection I have with something for some reason. But
Yeah. Cool.
that's that. And then I want to quickly, before we get to the Dorohedoro. So I think you saw the thing you were asking if anyone else is going to show up.
was
I
just
don't know
curious.
if Mike was going to. Yeah, maybe Mike.
Okay.
He's the
Mike
only
might
other
go.
maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
Send the link to everybody just in case or whatever.
Yeah. Well, the other guys sounded like not, so
Yep.
other than
Yep.
Mike. So
I wanted to give a product recommendation, which is kind of weird, I guess. But I have a bit of a sore throat, and I'm beyond here talking. So I have this ginger honey concentrate.
ooh.
So if you're near an Asian market, you can take a look for one of these. This is Han Chakan ginger honey concentrate. It's a product of Korea, and it's just, all you do is put some in hot water, and it is delicious and amazing for sore throat.
Awesome.
So
Does it when you're so you said a cup of hot water,
yep,
like boiling hot?
I boil it and put it in there. Yeah.
It's like, so it ends up
Probably
being
doesn't have
kind
to
of
be
like a
boiling, but-
medicinal tea kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like making a hot toddy basically with no alcohol. Really, is kind of what it is.
Lost me a little bit there, but yeah, no.
Yeah,
No, it sounds cool. It sounds good.
yeah, it's good.
You know what my boomer parents turned me on to, and I don't mean that in like a they're not like boomers. They're just not that age, but they're like
Sure.
fine. You know, they're great. I mean, I don't mean that in like this. Like, my parents. Parents are lovely. But
I'm clipping this out.
sending it to Judy and Tim. No, what they do, you know, like they have like 13 grandkids, so you know, a lot of just germs flying around. But they take like this one of those emergency like packets, one a day,
Sure, yep.
all year round, It's like an immune booster, and
Sure.
none of that's like gonna stop a cold once you get sick. But I think they're pretty effective at like keeping your immune system pretty boosted so that you're less susceptible to getting it. I actually got a bunch. So I was after the pandemic. I felt like people were getting sicker more. Or I don't know, like just catching up for lost time, or I'm not exactly sure. But maybe just said kids that are in like grade school. Maybe that's part of it, but just like getting sick. So I actually kind of started doing that too, and I recommend it. I've only really done it in the winter when it's like cold and flu season, but I feel like it helped last year, and I'm about to start doing it again, like just a daily moon.
Hey, you can get a cold anytime. The year-round thing seems to make sense,
Yeah, right, true. Yeah, you can get summer colds and stuff. So anyway, no, it's not my running, but that looks good. Yeah.
No, yeah, I mean, like, I think there's something to it. I take now quite a bit of I take probiotics, prebiotics, collagen, like powdered collagen, and like
coffee enema.
multivitamin
Just
every day.
Collagen, right? Nice. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
Dana bought some I probably shouldn't be saying this, but whatever. Well, it doesn't matter. It's like skincare, right? Some of these things are like these gel packs, like these gel things you put them under your eyes and like up into here where you have like smile lines and stuff and crow's feet. And it's just supposed to like moisture, like hydrate your skin there. Like they really work. I tried them too, and I was like,
okay, that's what I was gonna say. Like, let me know. You have Dana tell me if they work.
No, she thinks they do. I thought they did too. Okay, and like I'll do like masks and stuff with her. It's like, why not? I want my skin to look good too. Like, send
me a picture, whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we'll do.
Because we're not getting any younger, Phil.
We are not. No, I got wrinkles. I mean,
that's the difference.
Clear camera, but
between like you look at a picture of me now versus 5-7 years ago or whatever. That's the difference. Like there's really not too much else, but it's there's wrinkles when you smile and stuff that really weren't a thing before. So
definitely, yeah. I mean, which is like not the end of the world, but I don't want to look like ancient.
No.
Either, so
right.
And I think our generation or the generation of people who are like currently very elderly, like when they were young, like our age and younger in their 20s and stuff, they were just like baking in the sun and smoking like chimneys and So I mean, I think hopefully generations to come will look younger and younger, the older and older that as they get older. I think just generally people taking better care of themselves, better diet. So I don't know.
I mean, over the course of the last 100 years, with just your life expectancy going up, whether that it's from the what we get for medical treatments and the safer jobs, and then taking care of yourself more, all this sort of thing. I mean, it's always the discussion, like, look at Golden Girls. And look at that TV show and look up the age everyone was at the time. And now look at someone that would be in Hollywood or whatever at the same age. And shockingly different, They were like 50 in the shows and like old grannies, just scooting around or whatever they were, it's shockingly young. What we would think of them now, like they're 75.
Right. So. Yeah. Especially that little old lady. But she couldn't have been in her 50s, but
I don't know. Well, not the show for her, but if someone wants to look at it, let me know, like how old the Golden Girls were.
Sure. Well, before we get into Dorohedoro, I actually, as a kind of a segue, I could tell you a little bit more about my experiences with a different couple of movies. That are very exactly opposite from the concept you were just talking about, as far as like people who had gone their whole lives without ever seeing like the sky and like everything feeling really closed in. So I just watched a couple of movies where everything was just so open and just beautifully animated and illustrated in terms of like Japanese countryside and stuff like that. So I been continuing my my requisite Miyazaki tutelage
Sure.
catching up on all the
Studio
Ghibli movies that I've never seen that I should have watched when I was like a kid, apparently. So, so Dana and I pre-screened and then showed the girls Kiki's Delivery Service, which was so good, so like sweet and lovely. And then I'll get back to that in terms of the wide open spaces. There's a couple scenes that are just excellent that I want to kind of just touch on, but I'm sure most of our viewers have seen it. And then we watched Spirited Away, like maybe a week after we watched Kiki's Delivery Service, which was also really incredible. But at the same time, I don't think I liked it as much as either Kiki's Delivery Service or Howl's Moving Castle. And I think based on just the cover and back cover art of Princess Mononoke, I'll like that better than Spirited Away as well. I haven't watched it yet, though, but I did buy it. Okay. So, so let me get back to Spirited Away. But so, Kiki's Delivery Service, really good. Have you seen it?
I have not. No.
Okay. Well, it's worth a watch.
This may shock you. There's a lot of Studio Ghibli films I have not seen.
Okay. No, fair enough. That doesn't shock me. I think it's like its own thing. And I think as your kid, I mean, I'm only getting into it now, I feel like, because my kids are getting to that age where they can watch some of these movies. Not all of them. I think like Spirited Away. My girls are, I have a almost 8-year-old daughter, and for your viewers to know, an almost 8-year-old daughter and like a 5.5-year-old daughter. So 2nd grade and kindergarten. And like Kiki's Delivery Service, they loved. Spirited Away, I think they'd be a little scared by some of the parts of it, or just like weirded out by some of the parts.
Was your like perception of Spirited Away more because it was through the eyes of your kids, like or is it you also didn't prefer it?
I also didn't prefer it. Like I don't know. It was kind of like a macabre fairy tale take on a like which, you know, it was much more just like, I don't know. It just was very strange and not what I was expecting. And I think some really scary themes for kids. Like, I guess it's an old movie. It's not new, so I'm not going to worry about spoiling things. But have you seen Spirited Away, John? Sorry.
I've only seen parts of it.
Okay. So there's a scene where like her parents, she and her parents are like traveling to the new house. They're moving to a new city. And on the way, they kind of stop at this like abandoned, like their GPS kind of, I think the map kind of leads them wrong. And they come up to this like abandoned building. And it turns out to be like they think it's like a fairgrounds, like an abandoned fairgrounds, but it ends up being like this oasis for spirits, and like there's like a big bathhouse there, like run by this like witch, and her parents get like turned into pigs in the beginning. It's really scary. Like if I was a kid and I was like, oh man, to consider I'm at this like scary place and my parents are all of a sudden like transformed into unhelpful animals, that would be a frightening prospect to me. Anyway, so again, I mean, it all works out in the end, as you know, as most fairy tales do. It was really interesting. We liked it, but it was just strange and wasn't as like the other movie. Well, I should say Howl's Moving Castle, I also wouldn't think is for the girls yet. There's some intense parts with like, have you seen Howl's Moving Castle?
Nope.
Okay.
I've seen, so in full, I have seen Princess Mononoke.
Okay. Haven't seen that
yet. Let's see. Is it? I should look up the list of other Studio Ghibli films.
Like the Secret Life of Arrietty and Ponyo.
I've seen that one.
And Ponyo.
I've seen Ponyo.
Okay.
Yep.
I haven't seen those ones yet, but I'm aware of them. Those are ones I think the girls probably can't. Oh, My Neighbor Totoro.
Oh yeah, of course.
One.
That one I've seen. Yep.
I haven't seen that one yet, so I still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
But so it was good. I should say, like Kiki's Delivery Service, for example, is really just like very comforting. It's like watching. When I watch Kiki's Delivery Service, I get what they say when they say that Miyazaki is like Walt Disney of Japan. Like that one is very comforting and familiar, even though I hadn't seen it before, and it's very just like nostalgic and just relax. Like it's just very sweet, and like you can just put it on like a rainy day, and it's just like I can see why it's like some people's favorite like movie from when they were kids.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't. I mean, I understand the comparison, Walt Disney of Japan,
Sure.
but to me, it doesn't. I guess the issue I have with that is Miyazaki films generally, like, they vary a lot, and they almost always have a depth to them.
Sure.
Disney movies, like, they take old, Aesop's tales or whatever, Brothers Grimm things,
Sure.
all these, and they just make them really family friendly.
Sure.
Like, that's the history of them. So it does have, like, supposed to have a moral message in there's that. But that's as deep as it goes.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
I mean more from a nostalgia vibes type
Sure.
thing versus like an actual like critical compare and contrast. Like,
Sure.
I'm sure you're right. Yeah. I mean, it's like different cultures, like American culture versus Japanese culture. And I get, fair.
But yeah,
that wasn't I'm not the one that coined that. I'm not the one that, like, I've seen that. Like, I've heard people say that before. So just going with the masses here. But but
I think my like, I went to Studio Ghibli, like, land or whatever in Japan. That was lots of fun. But I think my issue of why I never really got into them more, like, when I should have probably, was I sort of started, I think my first one was watching Ponyo, and I didn't really love it all that much.
Sure.
Ever since, I've progressively seen better ones, it feels like. I've seen the better works as time goes on.
Yeah.
And,
so. I think you will really, I don't know about, I mean, Kiki's Delivery Service, I think watch when your kids are old enough to watch it, like when they're like 5 or 6, probably, 5, 4 or 5. But Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle, I think you would really like a lot. All the movies are, obviously, no surprise, just gorgeous. And the art and animation. Yeah, so Kiki's is just super sweet, especially for, like, I have 2 girls. So, I mean, they were like, they loved it. But Dana and I thought it was really good, too. I mean, and then Howl's Moving Castle we loved, but that's a little bit more, I mean, still PG, but it's probably more in the line of, like, towards Princess Mononoke, maybe. But that one, I liked, actually, Howl's Moving Castle the most of the 3 I've seen so far. Howl's Moving Castle was awesome.
Maybe that's the one I'll watch next. Because I should watch one next. Pick one.
Watch Howl's Moving Castle.
And the fascinating thing about Howl's Moving Castle that I found out not that long ago is how heavily Nintendo took from that idea and that story for their Zelda game, for the latest Zelda games. Like, not only does it seem pretty transparent that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are very, like, paying spiritual tribute to Ghibli films, but specifically Howl's Moving Castle for Tears of the Kingdom. I watched a video of, like, comparison, and it's shocking the similarity, actually.
Oh, funny. So. Okay. I mean, it's good source material if you're going to take it from something, I guess. Yeah. So I don't want to spend too much time on this because I think it's just a little section. But I will say there's just a scene in Kiki's Delivery Service where she gets caught in a rainstorm on a broomstick with her. You can see in the background her cat Gigi, who is voiced by Phil Hartman from SNL. Phil Hartman is, and Kiki is voiced by what's her name from she's like an adult now. I mean, like oh my gosh.
So you watch them in English?
In English, yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. Famous actress from, like, the 80s and 90s, and she still does stuff now. But and then, like, her love interest, or the little boy in the show that kind of likes her, is, like, voiced by Joey Lawrence, like from the Lawrence brothers. It's really funny because it's from '89. So anyway, there's a scene where she gets caught out in a thunderstorm, so they fly down to this train that's parked, and they get in this train and sleep in, like, this hayloft, like, inside a train. It turns out it's like a cattle car. But anyway, the next morning, she's, like, looking out as they're, like, traveling along the countryside, and you see the power lines, like, whipping by as they're traveling, and you see, like, the ocean, and it's just it's so good. We were watching this, and I was just like, oh, this is just excellent. I mean, it's from '89, but it was just still animated and drawn so well. So good stuff. And that's what made me think when you were saying like there's people that have never seen the sky. I was like, oh man, this is like in a time of Japan when, I mean, there were some big cities, but people lived in these little villages and stuff. And I don't know, it's very much kind of like I know movies, anime movies, I don't know, always have like a genre tag to them, but it's almost like a slice of life kind of just like coming of age, real light adventure story. It's just really cute.
Nice. Yeah. Kirsten Dunst, it looks like.
Kirsten Dunst, thank you. I was like, this famous actress from, I mean, she was a kid then, so her, in '89.
Yep.
So really
all
sweet.
Right. Well, we got, before we move on to the next thing, let's get Mike in here. Got a new guest. How's it going?
Hey, gentlemen. How's it going?
Hey, man. So good.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got manga review down. I've told everybody about this ginger honey concentrate they should buy for sore throats.
Yep.
Phil's talked a little bit about his path now going through the Studio Ghibli films.
Okay.
And sharing those with his daughters, the ones that work out for that. And
gotcha.
Phil, what's next on your list? You say what's you gonna watch next for sure?
Well, I got like 2 tracks. I'm like watching ones that are more for older kids. I mean, they're all technically like kids movies or young adult movies, but I'm watching some that I just want to see that are more geared for older kids or young adults or adults, like Princess Mononoke I bought, and I'm hopefully gonna watch in the next week or so. And then I also want to keep going with some of the ones that are geared towards younger kids. So I think we're probably going to try My Neighbor Totoro next. I feel pretty confident without pre-screening that's probably fine for my kids to watch. I think that's really geared towards like young audiences.
Based on memory, yes. I mean, we have we had onesies for our kids with Totoro on them.
Right. I'm definitely pronouncing his name wrong, but yeah, what else is new?
Yeah, there's a fun song in there. You'll learn how to say his name.
Oh, perfect.
For sure. We Princess Mononoke usually keep us updated because our friend Tony, he has watched that, maybe wants to watch it again. We've talked about having him on to talk about that one.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Something to consider. So
excellent.
Yeah. Okay, so at least one more thing here before we get to Jujutsu Kaisen, and then we'll check in on Mike too and make sure to see if he's watched anything new. But I want to I have a kind of news story that is it blew my fucking mind. I can't.
Whoa.
Well, we gotta talk about that then.
Yeah. So, but first, let's talk about Dorohedoro.
Okay.
You finished that, Phil, right?
Okay, yes, I did. I have 2 other things that I could talk about in like 20 seconds or less too. Just give you a taster and we can talk about it more in depth some other time if we want.
Okay.
So finished Dorohedoro. So good. It's like, have y'all ever seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
Can't say I have.
I know it.
Oh man, okay. So
I should. Classic, I understand.
Classic, Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro. Basically, so I think it's like a Hunter S. Thompson novel. Basically, they like go to Vegas with like a suitcase full of hard drugs, up to and including like real adrenaline glands from cadavers that you can just like suck the adrenaline out of and get like a quick. I mean, it's bizarre. It's bizarre and wild, and it's like people have called it like a fever dream, like quote unquote a fever dream. That's Dorohedoro is like a fever dream of an anime. It's
interesting.
It's wild in its tone and its animation and its colors, and it's just bizarre and funny and graphic and like wholesome in some funny like ways.
Not the word I was expecting to hear after all those.
And there's like interesting twists, and it's one of those shows where the good guys are just as like complicated and conflicted as the bad guys, and the bad guys actually have like there's the antagonist and the protagonist, but I mean they all kind of are just doing their thing in this like really weird world. So I don't know that anybody's like good, bad, or other, you know? It's just wild. It's a wild ride.
Yeah, it has that black sense of humor that is, you know, you kind of have to, okay, these people are going to do that, and you like them anyways, despite the horrendous things they do. And because of the tone and the way that they set everything up, you're okay to go along with that ride.
Right.
I would say for like a modern audience now, if they've seen the latest The Suicide Squad, it's that sort of thing too. Like our people who are following do ridiculous, horrible things, but we laugh at it and stuff because of the kind of the setup and the situation they're giving.
Yeah, because in this world, there's no one that doesn't do violent, horrible things. So it's like that's the baseline. I mean, so it's like you don't have to worry about anybody being like terrible because they're all terrible. Or just equally, it's just the same. I don't know. It's really good though. It's really good.
I wish more. I mean, I don't know what the actual success was of this, but I wish more people would give this author a shot, because both this now is really good, and I'm reading his current manga as well.
Yeah,
and he just does that thing where he puts you in a different world. Just says screw Earth and whatever you know. This is I'm making this place, and we're gonna have some zany fun here. It's gonna be that kind of like if you tried to explain some of the stuff to people, I'd be like, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
Why? You know?
No.
But,
there's no greater world building, or at least not so far. It's like you got this city called, what is it called? The Pit or whatever. And then
I don't remember. Yeah,
it's like the city called the Pit, and then there's this like city where sorcerers live in this alternate like universe that they can go back and forth between. And there's like these two like cities. But there's nothing more about like the world that they exist on, or the universe that they exist in, or it's just like they don't care. That show, I don't think, cares to answer those questions. They don't. It's not important in this show. It's just you're just in the moment of these handful of characters. I think this is one of the few anime where I'm feeling like I might need to go and read the manga if they're never going to do any more episodes. Because I know you said they kind of like finish it off like fine, and they do. Like I could live with how it ended, especially if the author was like, no, it's just like it's not meant to be like tied up in a bow. It's just like this is where I ended it, and like that's fine. It's that kind of a show, frankly, if they said that. But I know it continues on. So the fact that it continues on in the manga, but then they're never going to make more, presumably never going to make more anime seasons, then I probably will want to go read, because there's lots of things I'm really curious about still. And I do not think that it's by any stretch of the imagination like done. There's there's a lot. I mean, right?
I don't remember how many volumes there are. I have volume 1. That's it.
Okay.
Because it's like after this was done, I'm like, boy, I was kind of waiting. Are they going to do more? Is it going to continue? And it's just not seeming like it at this point. I mean, it always can happen. Sometimes things come back after a long time.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's a different team and it doesn't live up to what it was, you know?
True.
So, yeah, I should definitely read it as well. But I mean, for me, it's in my top 10. You know, that's right. You know, we went through that. Like, do you feel like this ranks for you at all?
Oh yeah. Now that I've watched it, I would easily have it in my top 10. Oh yeah, 100%.
Nice.
I really liked it a lot. I would say it's probably top 5 for me. I love.
Not me. No, bottom 12. Bottom 12.
You haven't seen it.
What?
or as far as I know. If you have, please join the conversation.
No, I haven't.
Well, you should give it a shot, Mike. It'd be just something very different from what you've been watching as well. And it's short. It's not that long. It's on short, Netflix.
12 episodes. It's funny. It's just bizarre.
It's 12 episodes?
I think so. 10.
The
maybe.
whole thing. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it should. I mean, in an ideal world, it would be just the first of many seasons, but
yeah, or the first of I don't know how much the content is, but like 3 seasons maybe. So
when did this come out?
It's I want to say a few years ago, but it's probably
it was like
more than a few
2021 or
now.
something.
Okay,
I think it was further back than that.
Maybe 2018 maybe.
Oh, 2020. Okay, 2020.
Oh, okay.
That's according to So, all right. Well, cool. I'm glad you watched it. Glad you liked it. Yeah. Did you have 2 other things you wanted to say really quick?
I do. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, I wanted to remind viewers, I know this isn't an anime show that I'm recommending, but Castlevania Nocturne comes out on Thursday. It's going to be legit. Mm-hmm. People should check it out. I'm going to be watching it for sure. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with Zom 100, but the most recent episode, actually, there's a new episode now, but the one right before that is so good. It's hilarious. And I know it's probably some like people who think it's like pretty lowbrow in some ways, but I just think it works. It's so good.
Yeah.
And then I randomly watched, I don't know if this is technically anime, but it might be just like an anime-like animated thing, but I watched a movie called Dante's Inferno from maybe like 5-6 years ago. Has you ever heard of it?
It's based on a video game.
Yep.
I've heard, I've heard of Dante's Inferno.
I think I liked it.
Yeah.
Sorry, so Mike, what did you say?
I was just going to say I've heard of it in general. I'd played the game as well, but so this animated series set in the game, and this is the 7 layers of hell Dante type of thing. Okay.
Yep. He's like this. It's just a movie. So it's like this dude who went to the Crusades, left behind his wife or his betrothed with his dad and his house staff, goes off to Crusades, like, make Jerusalem Christian, very important. And it comes back, and someone has like murdered his family, and his bride is like dying in his arms, and like follows her into hell. There's this reason she gets like, she's a very pure spirit, but she gets like taken down into hell because of like some deal he had made or not made. It's very confusing. Then he has to go through all these circles of hell, and Virgil's there as like his guide, as like the spirit. Started out, I was a little unsure about it, but it got like progressively more like unhinged and wild. It was pretty fun actually, but it definitely followed that video game formula where you kind of meet all these like different like boss levels, every like level, but every level was sort of tied in with like a deadly sin, like the 7 deadly sins. And then every level you got to see a flashback to like how he committed that sin during the Crusades. And then every level, the animation and the style of the animation changes. So like, he looks different in every circle. Virgil looks different in every circle. The animation's slightly different. The tone of the, sometimes it's more like kind of a Conan the Barbarian feel, and sometimes it's more like sleek and futuristic looking. And sometimes his hair is long and he looks like a barbarian. Sometimes his hair is short and he looks more like a soldier. It's cool. And then you see, it's like intense. There's some like, scenes showing like what he did during the Crusades and stuff. Oof. So it's not for the faint of heart, but it was fun. I'm glad I watched it. It was crazy.
Cool. Yeah. Nice. Mike, did you play through the video game, or you played quite a bit of it, or you just okay? I
played through the video game a couple of times. That was a long time ago now. Or at least it feels like it was a long time ago. It was a great game. Very hack and slash style. But the story was always really neat.
Yeah, you might like. It's just like an hour and a half long movie. It's not really an intensive.
Sure.
Don't watch it in front of your wife or kids, but
I'm always curious about video game adaptations. They so infrequently do a good job that when they do get it right, it's pretty neat.
Yeah,
it's hard
and I didn't play
the
game. So maybe you who played the game would be like, this is terrible. But
probably not, because I like the game, but it's not like you know, it's not something I'm overly attached to where I would have
It's like
specific expectations. Yeah.
Sure. Fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember coming out, and that's why I kind of didn't pay more attention to it because, like you say, normally the video game thing is just kind of soulless.
Yeah,
cash in on the name or something. But
yeah, it was like cool. late Saturday night, like, you know, television watching experience. It was like, you know, just something. I was looking for something crazy on a Saturday night. So, best part is you can watch it on Tubi. It's like free. No, it's like one of those free video TV apps. It's got nice commercials, but.
Well, speaking of something crazy, I'm going to share. This is going to tie into Jujutsu Kaisen as we get into it. But so there was, over the last week or whatever, apparently a controversy. It was brought up again of this idea of ghosting or dimming in a couple of the latest Jujutsu Kaisen episodes. Now,
ghosting?
I have watched anime since I was a child, and I've never heard of the term ghosting or dimming.
Okay.
So I looked up what this is, and I was absolutely astounded. Phil, for sure, you should be aware of what dimming is.
Okay.
Because they do it all the time in My Hero Academia.
Oh.
So during action moments in anime, you'll often notice that something crazy is happening and the whole screen gets a little darker. Like for some reason, everything is really contrasty. You can see it. And then there is some crazy thing that Midoriya does in My Hero. He's punching someone and it's a little darker. Have you ever noticed that?
No. I didn't have my awesome TV then. So, you know.
Maybe. I notice it all the time. Mike, have you ever noticed this in anything?
No, but I feel like this is one of those things where now that you've brought it up, I'm going to see it constantly. 100%. But not that I can recall. No, not really.
So me being pure of heart, I thought that this was some sort of technological barrier or stylistic choice that, like, you know, some way that it's transferred when there's a really bright moment or whatever. It just, I just never really thought more about it other than that is odd. Well, now I find out that it's a long-standing practice to encourage sales of Blu-rays and DVDs. So on streaming versions, they will dim moments.
Shut up.
Nope. And my mind is blown. I cannot believe this.
I thought we wanted to go. I thought everyone was like, streaming is the future. Why would we want and digital downloads? Why would
content creators, studios, developers of games, they're not necessarily all on board because they're not the platform holders. The platform holders, of course, want all this and they need the content. But if you're, you know, whoever making said thing, you don't get you sell the rights to something to be streamed. Yeah. And then, you know, you get your cut. You know, that's what you've done.
Sure.
So there's also another thing called ghosting that is basically making it a little blurry in certain moments where it like, and this again is to encourage the sales of Blu-rays.
That I feel like I've seen in Dragon Ball stuff.
Okay.
And I always chalk that up to just shitty animation because Dragon Ball kind of has that right along with it historically is you'll just get a couple random frames suddenly that look like they were drawn by the 6-year-old compared to the others. And it's odd. So that's always what I figured it was. It was just a byproduct of the expense of animating something.
I suppose then you don't get that when you get, like, take Dorohedoro, for example. It was a Netflix developed it and we worked with Mappa or whatever to do the animation studio, but it was a Netflix original technically. And so if the platform is the one that's like owns the content from the start, they would need to do that, right? I mean, because they don't want to encourage. They're not going to put out like DVDs and stuff and Blu-rays.
Yeah, if the sales are gonna, if the viewership is gonna come 100% directly from the streaming service, then I would imagine they're obviously not going to do any sort of a thing.
Right.
So, yeah.
Did you find any information? Like, is this an effective practice, or is it just something that they do out of spite?
It's a good question. It's a good question. I mean, there's still. It's a transitional phase. Japan is, a lot more physical media oriented than we are. Okay. A lot of people here in certain communities still really appreciate physical media, but the masses clearly don't. The sales keep going for both movies, music, and video games in the digital direction. I don't know at what stage now Japan is at, but when I was there last, they had giant CD stores of CDs and movies and stuff, things that no longer exist here, basically.
Damn goody.
Right. Yeah. Except
Perfect.
8 levels of it.
Great.
So
those stores back in the day. So
that's interesting, because when you first started saying this, the thing that I was thinking of is the only people that it would appeal to are the equivalent of like an audiophile, right? Somebody that just has to have that quality vinyl. They hate CDs because it sounds impure or whatever, or it sounds too pure.
Right.
Like,
oh, sure.
That seems like a small population. I didn't even know if that existed for video media, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, well, for a long time, absolutely, people buying Blu-rays when streaming was getting going, and you'd have, because the quality is remarkably different, and then 4K Blu-rays. But now things are getting better, and if you have that, good solid internet connection, you can get pretty damn good video and audio streaming. But you're still not going to beat a physical thing that's not relying on an upload and a download. And when you're someone that's on the edge and you're buying a, $5,000 OLED television that you have calibrated and stuff, like you maybe want to have your, $600, $800 Blu-ray player to play your movies the best, So I don't know. Like, there's definitely a market for all that thing, but this is clearly just like more for regular collectible, they're trying to get the collectors involved yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
But instead of like here, normally if you want to get collectors involved, you offer cool shit along with your, like cool box set or whatever. Not like the promise of seeing it all in full brightness, you know?
That's going to be video games next play. Your DLC is going to be, we hacked out 30 frames, in each scene, and you can have those back now if you pay another $60.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I wonder if the platforms that the streaming services could just demand these companies like, we're not gonna, we are only gonna purchase your like good copy. Couldn't they say that? Like, we're not gonna, or maybe they're the ones that are like have to woo the developers. Like,
I mean,
I don't know. It's all business interaction, but
if you're Crunchyroll, which is the big streaming platform here, you also have a web store that you sell physical copies. So you have the streaming rights and the rights to
sell,
print it, and put it on Blu-ray.
Right. So they'd be like, let's keep the shitty version on our streaming and then sell the good version in the store.
Yeah. Yeah. So I could see them not being overly motivated to. I just couldn't. Not so often do things come along in my life that sort of open my eyes to something that was right in front of me. That I had no idea. I mean, I think it comes from like, when I got into anime, the internet wasn't really much of a thing. And then even as time went on, like I didn't like joining anime communities, and I just don't follow it that way really. And so I don't know. That's crazy.
Joke's on them, because I never noticed before, and even now that I theoretically know about it, I can't imagine myself caring that much. So
I'm the same way.
It's probably okay.
You're gonna notice it. You're gonna notice it. I've noticed it for years, and now you're gonna notice it too.
I'll notice it and not give a shit.
But
Okay.
yeah, I'll be like, am I gonna buy this physical copy?
I mean, I've always hated the like streaming services get a censored version. Like, I don't like that. That's something I've been aware of. It's like, oh, this person got their head cut off and it's just a big black streak over it. Or we have to have steam covering everybody's genitals now and stuff that wasn't there otherwise. It's just whatever. It's always something.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I know on Crunchyroll, it's not edited in any way. I think they vary. Mature and stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I did some extensive research when I first got the app. It's not edited at all.
Okay.
Just want people to know. Maybe in the free version, if there's like a free version with ads, maybe in that version, but not in the pay version.
Sure. All right. Well, Jujutsu Kaisen season 2, last couple of we saw a little bit of this dimming, but with a lot of other things happened other than that that moments there and stuff. So we're going to get into it. I will have a picture for people so we can kind of look at some stuff as we go through it. But Phil, what? So these are 2 pretty big episodes now.
Definitely.
What are your overall thoughts? What do you think?
My overall thoughts. Really like them.
Okay.
Very like action packed. I like how they kind of are cutting them together. I do feel like. I don't know. It seems like they're spending a lot of time. I mean, they're like hyper focused, right? They're super focused on Yuji and the other Jujutsu sorcerer and her like assistant or her second.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the one storyline, and then Gojo with and then all the people and like the cursed spirits in the other sort of hyper focus area. And
we didn't jump all over between a whole bunch, all the different characters. Really,
they jump all between all of them. But like, I don't know. Like, I miss some of the other characters. We haven't seen like any of them because I mean, of course, we had that 5-episode like prequel part of the season, and then we're only 4 episodes into a pretty long season, presumably. But I don't know. It's just like, I'm sure they'll be in the aftermath of like this whole situation. We'll see them a lot more. But like we spent a long time with Yuji fighting that it's not a grasshopper, locust, cursed spirit, which was cool, but it was like so long.
Interesting.
That could have been shortened just a touch, and I don't know. I mean, I guess again, it's I don't know. That's not like really a fair criticism because they're just following the manga, and that's how it goes in the manga. But and those other characters just aren't involved in this part of the show, which I guess is fine. I hope.
Who are you missing, Phil? Who are you like?
Like Panda and like the cursed. Can't remember his name. The cursed speech user. Just like all the other people go to the school, and like the dude with the cleaver that's wrapped up, and like
Nanami,
all the chicks that they hang out with, Nanami, and like the Besto Friendo, and like some of the old dude with the electric guitar. Like, I don't know where all these people. I want to see these other people.
I understand, but patience, Phil. We have like there's a lot that we have to deal with now in them trying to explain the villain's plan here. Yeah. And
I know. Yeah.
True. Okay, so Mike, do you share these concerns? Like, where is everybody else? We're taking too long watching Itadori fight.
I don't think we're taking too long. It's just it's just that we're watching it in like these single episode chunks or 2-episode chunks for the show, and I don't want it to be different. I want to have the whole season available to me now.
Oh my gosh. Back to this.
So that's the issue, I think.
I'm not at that point yet, like I was with Demon Slayer. So far, I really liked these last 2 episodes and finally felt like I had a moment where things came together. It made sense. So I didn't have a pacing problem this time around. I thought the fight with the locust guy was cool, not necessary by any means, other than just to continue to show us that Itadori is unnecessarily powerful and annoyingly so. But so was Gojo, I guess, to some people.
Just to some.
Yeah. So no, I'm happy with this. I like it a lot. And for once, my headcanon wasn't better or cooler. Like I actually like what they're going with these last 2 here. So
yeah, I mean Itadori being in there, like I like that they're having these characters interact with different characters. You know, we're kind of reminded now that, remember, some of our main characters got promoted to a higher ranking, and so now they have to take on a mission with other people. And so it's sort of a reminder of that. And I like to see, you know, we're used to seeing our sort of trio interact. Now we can see them interact with different characters and see how that comes forward.
Yeah, I think what the show has been trying to do is show us 2 different paths, right? 2 different parallel storylines, and now they want those storylines to collide, right? I mean, that's nothing profound that I'm just saying. It's just maybe we need to remember that across these 2 seasons and within the movie, there have been very, very different focuses, and they are finally now going to need those 2 things to come together, because up to this point, it many times has felt like 2 different shows. And I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. Now you've got us, you know, at a point where Gojo cannot be savior, right?
Right.
And so these new characters, I guess, the original characters who were sidelined for a while, they're going to have to come back to the front and be the front lines for a little while here. It's taken a long time to get to that point. I mean, I'm literally at a spot where, like, you could swap out Itadori and all the rest of them for anybody else, as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't matter, because the story that has mattered has been Geto and Gojo and these curses that are coming together. And that's still the story that matters. And the only reason the secondary cast has anything to do with anything now is because our main person, our main focus now needs to be saved. Like this is Goku getting his ass kicked by Boo, and suddenly the rest of the gang has to come in and go all Majin style and actually, you know, put forth some effort here.
Yeah.
Sure. I've never watched Dragon Ball Z, but yeah, I get the reference enough to understand what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, it's I like it. I like that the story is focused on the bigger picture, and that we did finally hit this point where the storylines converged, and the thing that needed to happen, the thing that we talked about needing to happen, because the idea, that the premise of the show is that your strongest guy is one of the good guys, and it's like he has to be dealt with, and so that's been dealt with, and that's really cool to see where what will unfold now. And how, because what's interesting was like how in the sort of prequel thing we got, how they talked about if our whoever doesn't get the vessel to replace and rejuvenate himself, like, you know, he's so important for holding up the barriers and the structure of sorcerer society. What happens really when Gojo's gone? Because to me, it seems like that guy could be slacking and Gojo could deal with it. With Gojo gone, he was the one pushing people around. He was the one that was saving Itadori's life. He was the one that would go against the council and the elders and everybody else. So I'm just excited now for all the possibilities here that, you know, sadly Gojo's sealed, but we get who knows what sort of chaos. So we have rebellion in the sorcerer community. Who steps up as leader? Does the community accept who's in leadership positions as the leaders?
Right.
Who gets really cocky and starts like, you know, now that Gojo can't put a stop to it? Like,
sure. Well, I also think we're going to meet a bunch of new probably people similar to this chick with the braid in her face, which I also thought was a cool way, like, you know, how Gojo covers his eyes, obviously. It's whole shtick. It's cool to see another super powerful sorcerer who's just like, yeah, I also have to cover my eyes because my eyes are super powerful and you can't look at them. So she like does her braid and like I thought that was like a cool
remember
thing.
she was in the prequels too, the early stuff. She just didn't have her hair done that way. So
true.
So
well, either way,
se, but,
okay, sure, but she's not from the first season anyway, right?
She's in there too. Yeah, she's in the.
Okay, fine. All right, John. All right, okay.
Okay,
so
we didn't have a lot. We didn't have a lot of screen time with her. We didn't have a lot of screen time with her.
It's cool to see them brought back in, and I think you're going to see. You know, it's just a reminder that there's like other jujutsu sorcerers out there, like powerful ones that aren't like a teacher or a student or Gojo. You know, there's like these powerful families. There's going to be other powerful sorcerers out there. Just Gojo's had been able to do it all, and he's a teacher, so probably these other sorcerers haven't, or maybe they have been super inactive. You know, you just don't hear about it. I don't know. I think we're going to find out more about that.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, like it'll be interesting who at least thinks they're powerful enough to like call the shots.
Sure.
And the name drop, you know, again, with the storylines converging, we getting our protagonists from the film. Like that was a huge moment as well. Like shocking that he's brought up again.
Yeah. That's cool.
And Andrea kind of called that, you know, like we got to see something because they mentioned his bloodline or whatever, you know, in connection with Gojo's. And
I call that
or something.
Thank you very much.
That was you? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
That's right. I mean, Andrea may have said something too, maybe. Possible.
All right.
I am glad that they did that. I'm glad that they're bringing that person back, other than just to bring some cohesiveness back into the story. You know, it makes the movie feel much less like a side story. And like I say, it's taken us a while to get to that point, but at least they're doing it. And we've got a cool little opportunity for a couple of similar characters to do a potential standoff. Two that are cursed by something that aren't supposed to have been cursed by something, but have found a way to make it work. Different means to a similar end, you know? That'll be interesting. I was excited about the Geto reveal. Just
didn't see that coming.
I didn't see it coming, and it's a great way for them to explain away his total and sudden change in demeanor. Right? We never saw any of that happen on screen.
Right.
And so we were constantly speculating about it. This is perfect.
Question though, I don't want to get your guys' take on this. That's what I thought first at first too, Mike, is like, oh, that explains it. Like we couldn't understand why he changed so drastically, so quickly. But then I was thinking about it, and I think I have it mixed up in my mind, because wouldn't this entity have taken over his body at the end of the movie, the prequel movie? That was still way after he decided to go off the deep end and murder a bunch of people, because the prequel in the beginning of this season is prior to that movie by quite a ways.
But the significant difference is that he had never shown any desire to align with cursed spirits themselves. That was totally out of character and very strange. And the entire time I was wondering, why would he align himself with cursed spirits? Why would the cursed spirits align themselves with him?
You can just absorb them at any time if you wanted to.
Right. That was the thing. It's not so much the personality demeanor, but it was the motivations and his way about going it. He still wanted to exercise curses. He still wanted to rid them of that.
He just wanted all sorcerer society.
Right. Which,
right.
Again, would be very odd to work with curses to bring about an
all curse society.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so who do we think? Do we think we know who this entity is? It's like a curse. It's a cursed spirit.
I have no idea.
No,
we don't know.
Yeah, brain guy.
Do we think it has any connection to that little hidden inventory spirit that said "mommy" at the end of?
Oh, what did that look like? Yeah.
Do you think that's at all related? But that was, again, still well before the events of the movie. Is that somehow related?
I don't know how to even look that up, but I would search
hidden
for
inventory
it.
Mommy.
Incognito mode, maybe.
I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. Yeah, Phil, that's a good call. It makes me want to go back and rewatch the movie now. I'll be honest, when I was watching the movie, it was such a departure for long enough that I didn't pay all that much attention to early on, and I probably didn't pay as much detailed attention throughout the entirety of it as I needed to, because it felt like it felt like this was a side story.
Yeah,
and
same.
Now that it's not, it makes sense to go back.
Yeah, I agree. It feels very much like a part of the whole storyline. It's a really interesting way to do it, because like you say, sometimes those movies, like, I never even watched any of the My Hero Academia side movies, because then I read online, it's like, they're fun and they explain some side stuff, but they're not necessary to the overall storyline.
Right.
This movie's necessary to the overall storyline.
Right.
Yeah, and the other big reveal or realization then coming to for me was the idea that Gojo did kill Geto then, because it was always a confusing thing at the end of the movie, how he was like defeated, and then we were hinted at clearly there was a relationship there in backstory, which we then found out. But it's like, why are you not finishing him off? Why are you not killing him now? Like, he's clearly
made his choices.
The damage he's done. He's clearly, like, at this point an incurable bigot. Whatever. He's just like, what are you gonna? And so I guess to get distracted with eventually, well, what is this relationship and how did he fall? But what happened to him afterwards? You know, and now we get the answer, and like that's I think it's crazy. It's another thing that's sitting right in front of you that like I should linger on and then concern me more, and then I just let it go. And but now it makes sense. And because Ashley and I were talking, then the moment of realizing that Gojo didn't know that it was Geto that was opposing him. This whole time, I thought that Gojo understood that the cursed spirits were being led by Geto against him. The whole time, I figured he knew that, but no, he figured he was dead because he killed him. Like, that's a crazy reveal that I didn't
even catch that, really, I guess. I thought he knew this whole time, too. But Geto's just been pulling the strings, this whole time.
That's why his reveal stalled him enough for the 1 minute, right? That's
right.
I was wondering about that in the movie as well. He's like, we only need 40 seconds or whatever it is, or 1 minute, once we open this,
right?
And it's like, well, okay, so, and then he walks out, and it's not like he did anything. He was just present, and just that alone, such shock. I mean, funny enough, it was like he was seeing a ghost.
Yeah.
This is all related, but do you remember in the diner scene from season 1 when you first meet the volcano spirit and his cronies? I think Geto's character says something like, blah, 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 your boss told me, or I tell your boss that I don't like, implying that the volcano guy, there was like someone higher than him, like some other big bad who with like controlling things from like the cursed spirit sides, who was like aligning, sending his henchmen out to align with Geto. I need to go back rewatch that, because I feel like maybe there's someone else above Geto, or a dotted line adjacent. You know, I don't know.
Well, I think it would just be like someone sizing up Volcano Guy, understanding he's not in charge of anything.
Right.
You know, he's not the mastermind behind something.
Right.
Without much added detail, I think to figure that out.
Right.
That'd be my guess.
Okay.
It would be cool to go back and see if there is a bunch of foreshadowing that we couldn't pick up on.
Though.
Yeah.
That would elevate this show's status a little bit more in my eyes, if it was clever enough to be doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be, I don't know. To me, there's enough now of like clearly.
I'll be your right back.
Yep, no worries.
Wait for a sec.
To me, there is enough of like, this is clearly the plan, and this is what we've been leading to, that already has elevated itself, because I had to be like, initially it's, I don't know, these disparate parts I hadn't really thought of, and now it comes, so I just appreciate that, and I think that they've handled it quite well. And you understand why you had to go back. Like, sometimes it's, like Star Wars. You didn't have to tell the story in the order that it was told. It can be told in a number of different ways. You'd have different effects depending on how it's the order it's told. But I don't think you have to. I think, to me, this order really makes sense.
So let me ask you that and challenge it a little bit.
Okay.
If we didn't have any of the first season, if Itadori's storyline didn't exist, would this show be any different? Up to this point, maybe it will reveal itself and why that was important for us, but would it actually?
Well, so if we think about it, like maybe it started right with the movie, right? We watched the movie first. That's the premiere. And movie then you go into the backstory, which would make sense, because you go like, well, what was the relationship between Gojo and Geto? And then we find out what that relationship is. And then we move forward. The only thing that would be weird, probably, I mean, they'd have to change some stuff. Like,
some
maybe
minor things.
Itadori, we don't have his fight there, and it's much shorter, or it's like a teamwork thing or something like that. It's not him focused so much.
I mean, Toto could take down, like, no, that was season 2 also. I legitimately can't think of a real consequence of not having season 1 yet.
Yeah, I guess the thing would be adding, the only thing, and it wouldn't be necessary, but it's adding to why our characters care about certain things. So, for instance, Itadori wants Patch Face because of what he did to the kid that was his friend potentially here, and turned him. So he has emotional connection to wanting to destroy him. So having that is good.
But if Itadori is not in the picture, then his motivation for taking down Patchface doesn't matter either.
I guess it would be, these villains would be out of nowhere. When you think about it now, really season 1 is kind of about introducing the villains that are going to be capable enough of taking down and sealing Gojo. We spent time with Plant Lady, and like seeing how incredibly powerful she is. We had the story with Patchface and seeing how he could manage taking on Nanami and Itadori and still get out alive and hold his own. And so it was like, really, season 1 was fake Geto building the enemy team. And setting the stage for how powerful Gojo is, because if we didn't have the time, right. I mean, obviously they tell us how powerful Gojo is, but if we really opened up with the prequel, we see him get his ass handed to him. Now he comes back and he's like, wow, it's crazy powerful. But we don't see his full control of like infinite void. So we understand now in this season what he could have done to just wipe them all out, because we saw in season 1. He can just take over the whole station. You're in my world now, bitch, and you're just done, all of you. But he didn't, because he wanted to save the human lives.
Right.
So I understand what you're saying, main plot points, but I think there's a depth added and a meaning added to these villains and Gojo's importance and everything because of season 1. And looking at Itadori is just sort of a distraction at this point. Like it
is. And that is a very unique storytelling mechanism, to use your primary protagonist merely as a vehicle to tell a story about people that actually matter, frankly.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I don't know if I like it, but I don't entirely dislike it. It's interesting. It's different.
And because even though Itadori doesn't matter at this point, and we've determined he is a vessel to introduce us to the sorcerer world and Gojo and the team that is trying to take him down. Like that's his purpose. But he's also still setting up for whenever it is in the future of having to deal with Sukuna or whatever, the demon king inside him. So that is still there, even if it takes a while to get there. It still have that
Do we think that ultimately those cursed spirits are trying to trap Gojo so they can get to Itadori to fully convert him to Sukuna? So they think, is that maybe who the Geto was referring to when he talked about like your boss, like, because he's the most powerful of all cursed spirits, right? So that would be de facto like the big bad. He just happens to also be in like this like lovable, dopey character.
That could be. I was gonna say my initial reaction was that why would the cursed spirits have that sort of hierarchy? They've always seemed to be self-serving, but I mean, all of season 1 and up to this point in season 2 has shown the opposite, that they do coordinate.
Right.
What we don't know is if they made mention that, number 1, cursed spirits aren't usually intelligent, and 2, that cursed spirits don't usually organize themselves this way.
Yeah.
That's just usually. That doesn't mean that there's no precedent for it.
Right.
So
they seem to talk about like if they're able to speak and reason and all that stuff, that they are like a more powerful entity then.
Right. Right.
So
yeah.
I mean, it seems like they'd be unleashing a guy who would just want to squash them anyways, but
yeah. I mean, like, unless like Sukuna is like the kind of cursed spirit who's like, yeah, he's really powerful, but he's also gonna like send legions of like cursed spirits, can control, because he's so powerful, he can control so many like other cursed spirits that can do his bidding for him, maybe like some cursed spirit king. I don't know.
Well, look, so if you think about this, so the idea of the Jujutsu sorcerers is that they want to get rid of cursed spirits. But people create cursed spirits. So it's like
never
the
police.
Get
rid of
You'll never get rid of them all. But you have to keep going anyways.
It's about management.
Right.
Right.
You want to let it get out of control.
Right. So
like forest fire
obviously
management.
The cursed spirits wouldn't want that. Like, they exist. We don't want our existence to be, at your whim and you can wipe us out.
Sure.
So really, to me, the goal would be not necessarily like rule the world or something like that, but eliminate sorcerers. So as more of us are born and stuff like that, we can live and not be exercised.
Yeah, but I mean, The issue with that is it assumes that the cursed spirits have any sort of value to one another, right? That doesn't seem to be the case. Like that's kind of part of them being a cursed spirit is that they're generated by a certain kind of emotion and feeling. And then even as they get more powerful, they're still supposed to be like kind of selfishly and singular focused, right? I mean, maybe that's going to change, or maybe that's supposed to be changing with these more human-esque cursed spirits. Mm-hmm. But I don't get the feeling that they have any sort of desires to like proliferate in any sort of way. Mm-hmm. Like none of them show a desire to like have more cursed spirits in the world.
Sure, but they want to have they'd have the desire to be able to exist freely and do what they want, like, and not be,
now that they do exist,
in fear of eradication themselves.
They're just trying to like live forever as long as they can.
Yeah,
each individually. Yeah. So they might team up to help.
So you could team right. Individually. So like, hey, we can jointly agree. Hey. We can get rid of these sorcerers, so we can do what the hell we want. And then afterwards, it doesn't have to be a greater structure or hierarchy or something like that, or greater goals.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
I mean, theoretically, more cursed spirits reduces the actual potential power that any individual cursed spirit has, right? Because you get your power from consuming and cursing individuals, right? So if I'm a singular cursed spirit and the world is my oyster, I can curse any number of things. I can become all powerful, right? I can consume more and more souls, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if there are 50 cursed spirits, I have to divide that human populace up by 50 of us.
Sure.
If there's thousands of cursed spirits that are being generated by these people.
It's like scarcity of resources.
Right. And so, that would mean to me that Sukuna, who seems to be power hungry to some degree, or at least wants autonomy.
For sure.
Right. And if you want more power in order to be more autonomous, like, again, why would you want more of your kind if your resource is competed? Because they don't have cohesive goals. Humanity has a common goal, right? That's why you collaborate. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't seem to be the case elsewhere. And maybe I'm just going way too far into the ether on this, but
no, I think those are good questions to ask and good points. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I will say I think that often someone that is, say selfish is not looking particularly far in advance. It's about the now, it's about the gratification now for me, and be damned about later, right now my hindrance is this to my desire.
Sure.
And so I can see, I feel like for the show, I feel like there will be some greater goal, but I don't know what will be, how that will be explained and what would be satisfactory.
Yeah.
Like just cursed spirits, demons take over the earth.
Right.
Right. I get, so humanity is subjugated, maybe forced breeding, so we still have more people to curse, or I don't know how that.
Well, if I were to have to just talk about just the motivations of like volcano guy, tree girl, and was there a third one at one point?
Blood guy. Yeah, blood guy.
But in the first season, there was like one other guy, wasn't there? That got killed, maybe exercise. Anyway, those like that group.
Well, Patch face.
Yeah, patch face. I think that they're all like, we're powerful cursed spirits, but we certainly could get taken out by Gojo and some other maybe cursed jujutsu sorcerers. Let's try to free Sukuna so he can like have the best shot at like killing some of these. We can only trap Gojo at best, so let's also try to free Sukuna so he can like maybe kill Gojo, because he's the most powerful person we have like on our side. And like just a basic like, this is our best way to survive, like each of us individually. Like I don't care about the greater good for cursed spirits or anything other than self-preservation, and I think this is the best way to do that long term, because if we can do that, we can live forever essentially.
Sure.
Hey guys, notice how dim this screen is I'm sharing?
Yeah, I do. It's weird.
I didn't adjust anything. It's just the way it is. So.
Wow.
Can I ask you guys a question? I don't know why this would even be this character's motivation, but let's just say hypothetically, the dude from the prequel, the gambler man. Let's just say he had like stored a part of his like person or a part of him, part of his soul, I don't know exactly, into his hidden inventory cursed spirit along with all the weapons and stuff. I don't know what the hell he had in there other than like some super powerful, cursed relics or whatever, or cursed spirit weapons. If there was a way for him to like store a part of him in there, and then maybe he was like waiting inside that cursed spirit inside Geto until a moment where like right before Geto was about to die when he was weakest. Like, let's say hypothetically he could do that and did do that. Would he have any motivations to be acting the way that like the person controlling Geto is, like wanting to like kill humans and elevate cursed spirits? Like I know he's got a grudge against certain like Jujutsu sorcerer families and clans and stuff, because he was cast out by them, but like that doesn't mean he like wants humans to die, and right? Or I'm just trying to think of like
I
who
think
could be
he'd
controlling
be
this guy.
Well, and then does it matter that it would be someone we know or they're important for some reason? I like your idea of the thing that said mommy. I like that. I think that would be, if anything, if there could be some hint to something, that would be cool.
Well, we'll see, but I'm really curious. Hope we find out in not too long, like who that person is controlling it.
It's a good idea, Phil.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see, to me, like, like you're saying, if maybe he had some sort of him stored or something. I think that this show is going to be ultimately about like the next generation. So, right now, all the really important stuff is Gojo, Geto, that kind of thing. But it's going to be the younger generation. So there are protagonists from the movie related to Gojo somehow or something. And then Megumi related to the guy you're just talking about, to what is it? It's not, we called him something, right? Because it's not Toto, but it's something like that.
No,
Toji.
Toto's the
Toji, I think.
best of friend. Toji, yeah, Toji.
I think it's Toji.
There you go.
So, and also Maki, so that the Zenin family, I'm really excited to see what happens with them. So they're going to deal with the bloodlines, and like, I'm wondering if there's going to be a time jump. If the world goes into chaos and we need this time for the next generation to like survive somehow. I could see them being sort of on the run themselves, like those that are with Itadori, and like it's like, okay, we already have all kinds of problems, and maybe the goal is to release Sukuna and him or whatever in Itadori, and okay, now we really need to kill you, and Gojo's not here to stop us. So I could see like part of Jujutsu sorcerer community splitting and going after him, and then having that divide. And so it'd just be this, like, there's all kinds of cool possibilities, I think.
Yeah, it could go a lot of ways, but but no, I'm really enjoying it. And I was kind of half kidding when I was giving my initial opinions. I really enjoyed the last two episodes. I'm just excited to see more.
Nice. Well, okay, Mike, any final thoughts? Any last things you must say about these couple episodes?
No, I think I have a really positive outlook for where this is going to go. I'm really excited for the next couple of episodes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm finally not the negative Nancy, in regards to what's going on here. I'm actually happy with it. So
Awesome.
Very pleasantly surprised.
Cool. Phil?
I love it. No, it's awesome.
Nice.
I think it's gonna. Yeah, I think you're right when you say I do miss some of the other characters just because we've been so long without them. When you consider the movie and the prequel, and now into the storyline, it's been since end of season 1. I know they're gonna come back in. I just have to be patient. It'll come.
Mike's pain with Demon Slayer now, and Inosuke and stuff.
Yep, right, yeah.
Someday.
Saw someone with a sticker on the car, their car the other day.
Fantastic. I wish I was them.
I think you can make that happen. I think you can put a sticker on
I think I could. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something we should do here.
Yeah. All right. I think that'll do it. We've covered these last 2 episodes. We'll be covering the next 2 episodes, so give us a couple more weeks for that. Our regular show podcast on the rocks will be next week. Be Andrea and I, and as you mentioned, Phil, Castlevania is coming soon, so we'll probably be talking about that on there before long. It'll be interesting to see what the release schedule is for that. So.
Yeah, I don't think it all drops at once. I think it's like Thursday, a couple episodes, and maybe Friday, a couple episodes, and then maybe a break, and then another drop in a week. I'm not exactly sure, but I don't think it's all at once.
Okay. What, Mike? Why don't you promote your YouTube?
So yeah, YouTube is well now I'm all spun around. I think it's at TrackMouse34. Anyways, if you search track_mouse, you're going to get a whole bunch of stuff about computer mice, but you might also pop into YouTube channel about a guy racing a little Miata around. There you go. Yep. This is me in Mid-Ohio. Yep. A couple of weeks ago. So give me a follow on there, going across the country, heading out to Laguna Seca, which is in Monterey, California, at the end of October for the final race event. And next year, got a bunch of big plans, big changes. So YouTube's just a fun little outlet for me.
Going 105 ain't no thing.
Yeah, we hit about 122 on the back straight here, I think now. But
nice. So what are other people driving generally? All similar? Or?
So what you've got ahead of you is, so I'm in a 2006 Miata. Ahead of me is a Honda S2000 around the same era. And then right ahead of that is a brand new 2022 Toyota GR Corolla. And we end up running that guy down. There's Subaru BRZs. The class that we run is lightweight car focused. You'll see a lot of Subaru BRZs with engine swaps and things of that nature, some old BMWs. So there was an Alfa Romeo 4C Competizione in out of Gingerman. So pretty wide array. Okay. It's kind of build whatever you can within these very loose rules. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. Whew. Adrenaline rush, I'm sure.
Certainly. Thanks for that shout out.
Cool. Yeah, you bet. Well, yeah, and thank you everybody else that's been following and subscribing. We got a couple more subscribers recently. Make sure you review, like, share in all those places like Twitter and podcast directories and YouTube, Twitch, all that sort of thing. We would appreciate it. And with that, we'll bounce out of here and we'll see you all next time.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.